So lesson 4.7 is really just a continuation of lesson 4.6. We're going to continue to solve rational equations and find the value of x, but we're going to be dealing with more examples or more problems where we have to begin by factoring our denominators. And so in this first example, we're asked to solve for x in the equation. So step one, we want to factor our denominator. So our first denominator here obviously has a greatest common factor of 2. We'll be left with x minus 4. We'll leave the x on top. Our second denominator we recognize is a difference of squares, and we know that that factors to x plus 4, x minus 4. We'll leave the numerator alone for now. And obviously our last rational expression is just the fraction 1/2, no factoring involved. So now if we look at what might be the least common denominator, we've got to have an x minus 4, we've got to have an x plus 4, and we've got to have a 2. All three of those things need to be considered a part of our least common denominator. So what we'll do is we'll multiply every numerator by all three of those things. And so I've done so. Now what we want to do is we want to cancel all the like terms on top and bottom. So in our first rational expression, we're going to cancel the 2 over 2 and the x minus 4 over x minus 4. In our second fraction, we'll cancel the x plus 4s and the x minus 4s. And on the other side of the equal sign, we can only cancel the 2. So now all of our denominators have gone away, and we're going to identify what we have left in the numerator. So you'll notice I have an x and an x plus 4 in my first fraction, so you see x times the quantity x plus 4. In the second, I just have a 16 and a 2, so you see 16 times 2. And on the other side of the equal sign, what I had left was the x plus 4 times the x minus 4, which is exactly what I have here. So we're going to distribute and FOIL. And so I did so. And obviously what we have is a quadratic equation because we see the highest degree on any x is 2, which makes it quadratic. And we know that with quadratic equations, we solve them best by getting it equal to 0. So we're going to need to subtract x squared from both sides and add 16 to both sides. Unfortunately, what happens in this case, we notice, is that these x squareds cancel, so it's no longer quadratic. What we have left then is just 4x plus 48 is equal to 0. No need for it to be equal to 0. So since it's x to the first power, we can just start solving for x. Someone at Domino's made excellent pizza. We'll subtract 48 from both sides. And we will divide both sides by 4. And we find that x is equal to -12. Now just a note, based upon the factored form of our denominators, we want to remember that we cannot divide by 0, and if x were equal to 4, one or some of these fractions would result in us dividing by 0. So x cannot equal 4. And if x were equal to -4, some of these denominators would also result in us dividing by 0, and we can't do that. So we knew from the get-go that x could not equal 4, nor could it equal -4, but that didn't turn out to be a problem because we found that x was equal to -12.